Good morning. It is 9:04 on a Wednesday morning. It's the middle of the week. We're going to be having some fun. We are going to have Luke from the Moore Memorial Public Library here in studio today on KHEA Radio. I've had the opportunity to know Luke for just about a year now. The first time that I was able to meet him was at a food drive that the Moore Memorial Library was putting on for the Galveston County Food Bank right there in Texas City. So he is an awesome director there. Right now, the Moore Memorial Library is going through some changes. If you drive by, you'll see that, hey, they're currently not open, but that's because they're getting it upgraded. They're getting some like prime renovation. There's a lot of stuff going on. We learned a little bit about that as it's been going on. And then during the 10 o'clock hour, after we are done talking to Luke, we're going to be talking to Hospitality ER in Galveston. This is really interesting because Hospitality ER is just like a normal emergency room. The major difference is they are family owned and operated. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. So a family-owned and operated emergency room that's open 24 hours a day. If you drive around on I-45, if you drive, down in downtown Lamarck, if you drive on, 1765, you're going to see some of their billboards, and I see them everywhere. So it's a great opportunity to learn during that 10 o'clock hour as we are going to have Hospitality ER here in studio. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to share this stream out, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to be spreading some positivity this morning, and we're going to be learning about some of the cool things that are happening right here in our backyard. So Luke is getting situated. This is going to be his first time to be on air on KHEA Radio, and he is the man with the plan. He's the guy who kind of calls the shots here whenever it comes to books in Texas City. This is who you got to go through. Luke, what's up?
Yes, so much is up. We're pretty excited. You would think since we're closed that nothing is happening, but it's the exact opposite. We're maybe busier than we've ever been because we took this opportunity of being closed to say, oh, that's terrible. That stinks. That's why you have a library, so people can come in and get books and get resources, and thought, okay, well, we're going to be closed. What can we make that as a silver lining? And so we've been doing so many things we don't normally have time to do.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out into the schools, some of the local history projects we've been doing, liaising with other city institutions, liaising with local healthcare institutions, liaising with social work institutions. We just had one of our librarians go to the Workforce Commission's monthly meeting and made some great connections there. And it's just been amazing because everywhere we go, we're finding new opportunities for the library to serve the public and
that's what it's all about, really, just serving the public, right?
Oh, 100%. We're really into the whole making the lives of people better thing. It's our bread and butter. We're really we just get so excited about it. And what's been amazing about having a bit of this time off is we're finding just so many opportunities that we wouldn't have found otherwise because we could slow down for 1 minute, because we have a lot of open hours when we're open. I mean, Monday through Wednesday, we're open 12 hours a day. Thursday and Friday, we're open, from 9 to 6. So, and then every Saturday, and plus a lot of other programming that we do throughout the year. And having some of that slow down a bit has just been amazing because we've gotten into our fingers in a bunch of pies. We wouldn't have been able to stick them in otherwise.
Yeah.
It's going to immediately, when we reopen, have a lot of opportunities. Just
awesome.
From that meeting yesterday, we were able to talk to some people about getting some great training for people interested in getting a 3-week course for free.
Yeah.
And we're gonna
I'm gonna send Crystal.
Yeah.
I'm sending Crystal so she can learn, and I'm down. Yeah. I'm down to send Crystal.
We're looking at maybe having ESL classes for free when we reopen.
What is ESL? That's
English as a second language.
Okay.
And so it's something it's a resource we've been asked for a lot, but we didn't have a provider who was able to do it. But when we reopen, we won't just have our big meeting room, which we've normally done programs. We'll have smaller meeting rooms, so we can double the amount of programming that we have available.
Mm-hmm.
So previously, we'd have to say, if someone said, we have this great free program for free, and we'd have to say, well, that's great, but we can't commit to 3 weeks because there's almost never been a time in our history where we could segment off the whole program room for that. But now we can, and so it's something that looks like it's going to work out, and it's going to be amazing to offer, free long-term training to the public.
That's cool.
So our focus when we get back in is, we're going to we're trying to completely transform our children's, teen, and adult services as much as we've transformed the inside of the building. And our focus for adults to start with is first jobs, then health, then a sense of community. So with jobs, we're going to have some really awesome classes with workforce, some other trainings that I was talking about that we're trying to nail down. And with health, we're going to have, we've always had some great health programs, but we're looking on making those more exciting, getting those out to the people more, maybe getting other places that we partner. But, we're going to have things that are really exciting for that. And for community, now that we have group meeting rooms, we're hoping that local groups that don't have a place to meet can meet there. And people just come to see the library as not just a place to get stuff, but just as a place to be. And,
cool.
Your home away from home, your office away from home, your classroom away from home. And we have the facilities for that now.
So we're about to make that switch. We can go on the FM here in a bit. And right now we're hanging out with our Facebook friends and family. And feel free to share this out if you have any questions about what's going on at the library. The only thing I'll ask you, if you could just scoot that mic a little bit closer because that arm will go out.
You got it. As close as you want it. There we go.
That's
and
perfect.
Then I'll try my FM voice. Hey, we're here in the morning and we're talking.
Do you have any radio experience?
I do not. I just like radio a lot.
Yeah, I felt like that was perfect. Like, hey, what's up, guy? Like the.
I'll try not to do the Zoo Crew stuff. I think that's the wrong,
No, let's do it. I don't even know.
We're here with the Zoo Crew. I'm Dual Bull and you're the Dub.
And then I can make I got some sound effects over here.
Yeah.
Like a barking dog.
How about those bozos in Washington? Am I right? See, I got it political there.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't have a background in radio?
I am sure.
Okay.
I have a background in being ridiculous.
See, that might as well be a background in radio then. All right, here we go. We can make that switch on the FM, and I'll get you reintroduced, and we'll jump right in. Here we go.
Sounds great.
Chicken fried steak.
Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Right now, it is 9:11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. I'm Gardy. I'm so excited. I got a special guest here in studio. I got Luke. He's the director at the Moore Memorial Public Library right there in Texas City, Texas. And we're going to be learning about everything that they have going on. Because, okay, from the outside, Luke, it may look like y'all don't have anything going on.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if that's accurate.
So from the outside, if you drive past our library, it looks pretty bad because it's closed. We're closed for renovations. That started at the beginning of August and will continue through early December because we're doing a massive renovation. So inside, a ridiculous amount is going on. They've already ripped out the restrooms. They're pulling up the floors and putting in new plumbing because we're going from 2 old, not very attractive restrooms to 6 private, all-in-one restrooms. They'll each have a changing table, sink, the full 9 yards.
Will the guys' restrooms have a changing table too? Okay,
that's
awesome.
They're all going to be unisex. That way, since they're individual, they're all family style. So each one is a family restroom so that so you can take your kids in there. If the dad's in there with their kids, it's okay. I can tell you as a father of 2 young girls that men's restrooms without changing stations have always been a very personally infuriating for me because it's very hard to find. And so our restroom, they'll be everywhere.
Well, family restrooms even better because that's what I always look for. If I'm anywhere, it's like, okay, where's the family restroom? If that's there, that's cool.
Yeah.
If not, it's like, okay, what's the second option? What's the second? And then you try and find something to work.
You have a screaming child with an explosive diaper. You don't really want anyone else to have to deal with that, of course.
Exactly.
So physically, there's so much going inside the library. And while we're not there, all our staff is currently employed. It's a question we get a lot. What's going to happen to your workers?
Everyone's fired.
Yeah, no. Fortunately, there's always so much that needs to be done back at the house, behind the scenes, that we're always very busy anyway. And so we were very fortunate that the city had some alternate office space in the city inspections building because there used to be a police department there many, many years ago. And when that moved out, there was a whole lot of extra offices. And so they were being unused. They were just storage, and they were very nice. They cleaned it all out for us. We got all wired up because of the city's IT department. And so we have plenty of office space. So we're cataloging books. We're buying new books. We've weeded some books so it'll look really nice when we go back in. And we're doing all sorts of other things, like we're digitizing our archives so that our archives currently are just a really rich repository of the history of Texas City, but they're just in a bunch of really old yellowed papers.
Yeah.
And no one's going to come in and want to just look through box after box of that. Even people who are fascinated with Texas City history and we have a lot of those, never want to look at our archives. So we're going to digitize those and put them in a very searchable and easy to use format, so you can just say, look at a map of Texas City, and there'll be little points on it, and you click on that point, and it'll tell you, pull up some oral histories for things that have happened, say, at a church that no longer exists. Or in related to the disaster, this is where the anchor landed, and there's people's oral histories talking about seeing it there. And then when you click on that and you look at that oral history and you have the transcript going at the exact same time as you watch it, and images can come in with it.
That's awesome.
Then at the bottom of that will be other tags that you can click on just to browse through. And it'll also be completely searchable. So if you happen to know a person in Texas City history, like Emmett F. Lowry or Colonel Hugh Moore or Helen Edmonds Moore, that you want to know more about, you just search it and it will just pull up a trove of documents. And this is going to be an ongoing project so that eventually everything we have in our archives will be considered for digitization. We won't digitize all of it because some of it are these large ledger books of just entries of, dates and payments for, some of the large plants. And no one wants to look through page after page after page after page of that. It's simply not worth the bandwidth. But we're going through and considering every single thing with fresh eyes, and it will all be easy to search. And some of the things we're finding, some of the old oral histories that we did as a project in the 1980s are just fascinating. But they're on cassette tape. And no one's going to come in with their cassette player and listen to those, which is a shame because we're digitizing those right now. And there's some amazing stories in there. And I'm just getting really excited about when we can launch that and let people see it. It's going to be fascinating.
Well, cassettes are making a comeback.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'll be the new vinyl. I'm sure all the hipster kids will
bit.
Really love it. But unfortunately, it's not ever checked out in my 10 years there. Not a single time has any of the cassettes been used in-house. And I was told by my predecessor, who was there for 14 years, that as far as she knew, it had been probably 10 years since she had started, maybe 15 to 20 years since even when he's used it one time. And these are amazing stories. Now, a lot of them are transcribed already, so people could just read the transcription. So it's not like it's completely hidden away already. But when you actually get the voice and the inflection, it's a completely different thing. So oral histories alone, we feel, are just going to add so much to the experience of the Texas City history. Because, those are their actual stories, and just the things that people have lived through in their time are just great. And, we have stories going back from 1913 in our oral history project. We have the complete founding of the city that some people were around for, and they talked to us about back in the 80s. And so since we have that resource, and it'll actually be available to the people, that alone will just be really legacy-making, we feel, for Texas City, because people will actually be able to know their story.
Yeah, that's awesome. So whenever it comes to, the library, one of the things that you think of is books.
Yes.
One of the things that we learned is that there are different ways, obviously like tapes and DVDs and other stuff, and you can even go watch movies. But y'all are so much more than books because y'all have events, and there's always a lot of stuff going on. Even though y'all are closed, y'all are working hard, maybe even harder, but there's events going on at the same time.
Yeah, so one thing that when I stepped into this role a year and a half ago, I really wanted to do was get us outside the library. And that's a big move in libraries everywhere. You have to be careful about it because you only have so many resources. But I just really feel like the people who come to our library love us. I feel like we do a really good job with service, and we have great programs, and we get great feedback. But I wanted to let everyone who hasn't used the library in a while know that we're still there and that we're their library. So we've been doing a lot of outreach. Last year we did Hallowpalooza, Texas City's Halloween party, and we did Touch a Truck. And we're going to be doing those again this year, and that's in October. And we're also going to be doing the city's settlement celebration. We're going to have a librarian there, our local history librarian, for the 1867 settlement. All these are in October. And we're also working with TCISD. We're actually going to be there this Friday at Guajardo Elementary. And within October, we're going to try to hit every single TCISD elementary school for story time. And this is part of a pilot program to figure out staffing-wise so that we can do that year-round.
Wow.
So we're actually going to increase our children's outreach this year by tenfold.
That's awesome.
It's going to be really great for the library to get to talk to kids who maybe haven't used us because they live in a different part of the city, so their parents haven't necessarily thought of it, and they already have the school library. But we're working on ways to get out to kids and get out to families and, get out to, families that don't have kids, of course, as well, so that they can see what we have to offer. Because programming is just such a big part of what we do.
Okay. I need to ask this question
Yes.
and get it out of the way because it's been burning in the back of my head. So we love Texas City. There's so many cool things that go on. You know, the other day we were filming on 6th Street right out of the ice cream shop, and we had a great time. So we're doing some stuff with the emergency management. But, the library, we've been working with you guys maybe the longest out of everybody. It's been over a year that you all have been coming in and doing these things. So I have to ask this out of respect. So our good friends from Helen Hall Library reached out, and I don't even know if I can look you in the eye when I asked this. And Helen Hall was like, "Hey, KHEA, what's going on?" And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what's good? Is there any beef there? Helen Hall and League City, are y'all good? Is that okay for us to continue this conversation with them?
It is. As much as I'd love to make East Coast, West Coast librarian war jokes, we love Helen Hall. Helen Hall's in the same county system as us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Galveston County library system that basically the only thing it really means is that we get county tax dollars by being part of the system. And we have some similar policies on how you can get a library card. But all the libraries in that system, all you need is proof of address that you're a Texas resident. There's no residency requirement. So if you live in League City, you can get a Texas City card, a Lamarck card, a Santa Fe card, a Hitchcock card, a Galveston card, absolutely free. And there's no non-residency fee. And we meet once a month, and we talk with each other beyond that all the time when they're doing a program that's similar to something we've done or vice versa. And so I actually recommended KHEA at one of the meetings over a year ago. And
awesome.
I'm glad they're getting around to it because Helen Hall does excellent work for its community.
Yeah.
Love Helen Hall. I hope all the county libraries eventually are on KHEA because, so many of they're all doing such great work.
Okay,
and
good.
We're sending everyone we can to League City, to Hitchcock, to Lamarck while we're closed. When we have people come in saying, "Are you guys open?" We say, "No, but you can get a library card for free just down the street from us."
And then hit up one of the other ones that y'all work with.
And what's wonderful about our library system in this county is every one of the libraries has its own independent collection and its own independent collection development policy. So they're all different. They all offer different programs, and they all have, different staff. So, I can't recommend enough that people try out every one of the libraries. They're really great.
Okay, so here's a question. This is from Rudy, and I think we just need some more clarification. He said, wait, repeat that. Did you say that you can use a library card at other libraries?
You'll have to get your own card. There's currently no way to have a county-wide card. It's just because we have completely different catalogs. And we don't have some sort of overarching system that will allow those catalogs to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So you'll still have to go in and get your own library card. But all they need, and this is true for all the county system libraries, which you can find these on our website because we have it listed right now so people can know about this, is proof of address. And so if your ID has your current address, they'll take that. It's no problem. If your ID doesn't have your current address, because that happens all the time, you've moved, you haven't changed it, it's extra money, just bring in something that's come through the mail with your name on it in the last 30 days so that they can see you're receiving mail at the address that you're listing. And boom, there you go. It's completely free. There is never a charge for setup of your first card.
Luke, are you from this area? Where are you from originally?
I am originally from North Texas. I grew up in Fort Worth.
What brought you down here? When did you come down this way?
I came down here for this job. I started 10 years ago almost. In January, it'll be 10 years as our young adult librarian, our teen services. And it was one of the jobs I was looking for. I was willing to look all over the state of Texas when I graduated because I didn't want to be just tied down to North Texas because I wanted to really find the right job for me.
Yeah, is that where you went to college, North Texas?
Yeah, I went to University of North Texas in Denton for my undergrad and my graduate degree and got my Master's of Library Science. And I wanted to come to Texas City when it was open because Texas City as a library, you could just tell even at the time from its website that it was doing a lot. And when you look at a lot of library jobs, you can kind of from their websites and the listing and looking up census data, which if you're going to look for library positions, I strongly recommend this to people. Check the census data because it'll tell you everything you need to know about the community. And if you know about the community, you know about the library. And it showed me that this was a city that didn't just have a library. This is a city that would really need a library, because Texas City, and that's true, Texas City really uses their library. They use it to find jobs. They use it for schooling. You know, if you can look at the census data, not everyone at the time in their home had Wi-Fi access, computer access, high-speed internet access. It was on the lower side. So you would know this is a city that would really use their library. And that's what I wanted for my first position, is somewhere where I was needed, because I have a real call for public service. And, you know, I love large libraries where, you know, it's in a very affluent city. So it does a lot of really cool techie things.
Yeah.
It does look like it's got the 3D printer. I love those libraries. I visit them for fun all the time. But if I could help it, I didn't want that to be my first job. I wanted to be someplace where, you know, I could be the difference in teaching someone how to fill out a resume so they get that job. And it's happened. I've had people like, you know, say, hey, I got the job. And there's just no better feeling in the world to know that you were a tiny part of pushing that person forward in life.
Yeah. So, you know, you're growing up. Did you always want to be a librarian? I think you had a calling for movies, and there's some people agreeing with me, said, I think Luke does have a background in radio because you're really good at this.
Well, thank you very kindly. Well, I always knew that I wanted to do something in service from a very young age. Like, I was always a very sensitive child and, like, cared about how other people thought. And so I always knew I wanted to do something that would help other people. And so for some time, I thought maybe it'd be a teacher. So for some times I thought maybe it'd be a college professor because I love literature and reading. And I thought, well, maybe I'd want to be a college professor and just discuss that constantly. But, you know, I used the library just voraciously as a child. But it was in high school that I really started realizing, well, no, I don't want to be a teacher, because I was paying attention to what teachers have to do and thinking, that's too hard. I mean, I thought if you think being a librarian is hard, you know, boy, being a teacher is much harder. And I thought, okay, so that's not in. And then, you know, when I went to college and I saw, you know, I see what the professorial life is like, and it's really fascinating, but it's not for me. And so I was very happy that I was focused on libraries. And I actually went to my undergrad knowing I wanted to be a librarian. And then, of course, you don't, until you get into it, realize, boy, I hope that's actually what I actually really enjoy, not just the idea of it. But I was fortunate enough to work in a library at UNT during my graduate experience, and I was able to actually see, before I got my degree, boy, I do really love this. This is good news. I haven't wasted some time, and I don't have to change my master's program. I loved it, fell in love with it so much, not just the concept of it. And, you know, we tend to have that a lot at our library. We really try in the hiring process to find people who are service-oriented. You find a lot of burnout in the library field because a lot of people go into it for the idea of libraries. And the reality of libraries is that, you know, when you help people all day, every day, it can be monotonous, it can be redundant, and it can be, you know, thankless. Because while you occasionally will have someone say, I got that job, more often than not, you don't get those kind of big moments very often. So you have to really love helping people, just the aspect of it itself. And so we do that a lot in the hiring. So we find service-oriented people. So that's why we have just an impossibly good staff that is always willing to say yes to new ideas, because that's what they want to do. They want to stretch themselves. They want to challenge themselves. So when I said, hey, we're going to drastically change services, and you guys are going to do a lot more than you have, and you've never done it before, and there's no one here at the library you can ask how to do it, so you're going to have to teach yourselves how to do it, and it's a pilot program, they all said, yay! So it's been very easy for us, because that's what we want to do.
Yeah. You know, I feel like being a librarian and being a teacher, there are some similarities, but there are some major differences.
Oh, yeah.
You get to work with kids, which you do as a teacher as well. Yeah. You know, you work with adults as well, but mostly everybody wants to be there. I remember being a kid and my mom was we're going to the library. And, you know, maybe I didn't want to go, but after story time and you know, in the summer it's good. You know, check out books and stay active.
It makes a huge difference that, you know, you have an audience that's willing versus a captive audience. And, you know, there's a term called in loco parentis, you know, meaning that teachers, while their parents are not around, are responsible for the well-being and emotional development of the children. As librarians, we are not. We're just there to offer services. So that takes such a huge amount of pressure when you're not a child's, you know, de facto parent for, you know, 8 hours a day. And really, frankly, for teachers, so much more off that, because so much of it goes home with you. So we get all the fun things, and almost none of the sad or bad things. Of course, you'll have a child or a teen or an adult who's acting up, and so you get some
like
of that.
me, if I walk in at
absolutely.
times, Luke was like,
we have an alert for as soon as he walks through the door, like, oh, he's here. Okay, let's have Luke come out and meet him.
Luke's like,
shuffle him off to the quiet part of the library.
You've had your fun. Okay, go eat your snack in the front and get on out and move on to the next place. Just kidding.
Sort of.
Right now it is 9:29 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. We're talking to Luke. He's the director at the Moore Memorial Public Library. Luke, you said you've been at the Moore Memorial Library for 10 years.
10 years in January, yeah.
And you started out as the young adult children's librarian?
It's young adult. We have a children's librarian and a young adult / public services. So that's our teen services and our senior outreach, where we go out to 6 different senior homes, and our marketing library.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had like a lot of hats, and that was partially designed. My predecessor was Beth Riker Steiner, and she believed our library should be a training library. We very often will hire every single position. We consider people who have 0 library experience, but they have other equivalent experience. That way we get people who are new professionals, and we give them their first shot, and we train them in everything we know, and we let them do things that are not in their job title, so that when they're ready to step to that next step, they have that ability. And, that always means that, you get people who are always engaged and always trying new things and don't burn out. But it also means you're helping the library profession by training the leaders, of the next 5 years. And so that's really what happened with me, is I was expecting, of course, to do that and step outside of the library eventually. But our assistant director at the time decided to go on to different things, and Beth was kind enough to tap me and say, I think you have the makings of our next director, so I'd like you to step in the assistant director role.
How long before that happened? Like, you'd been working there for how long before?
I've been working there for over 6 years.
Okay.
And, she stepped, and then she said, so it's going to be a 2 or 3 year process. It ended up being less because she had to leave sooner than she thought to retire. But the city was nice enough to give me a shot, and it's worked out really well. And that's entirely attributable to the fact that that's how Beth ran the library, that, you will get training if you want in every aspect of library services. So if you want to step into a role like that later, you can. Now, of course, we've hired people who do have library experience, and we'll always look at those candidates. But a lot of libraries, tend to look like, well, we'll only look at people who have library experience. But that's not really fair for an entry-level position.
Yeah.
Because if it's entry-level, we want to give people a chance who haven't had the shot to do that, or else they never will. So we've got a lot of great professionals. That's how Paloma stepped into it. She had a little bit of experience, in college with, working at a college library, but no public. But she ended up being, as an amazing employee. That's how our assistant director. She had school library experience, but no public experience. So they're very equivalent. I mean, there's so many differences, but you can find equivalencies in all parts of life if you're just willing to broaden your outlook of what makes a professional. And that's how we've gotten some of our best people, including myself.
There's a meme in there, just where it's like entry-level position starting at, minimum wage.
Yeah.
But we want you to have 5 years of experience or like this many hours.
Preferred.
Yeah, preferred. And
yeah.
It's like, how am I supposed to get an entry-level job if I have experience?
Yeah.
So that's cool. Hey, you mentioned something earlier about looking at the census stats whenever deciding where you were going to go.
Oh, yeah.
I think, is that like the U.S. Census? Because there's a new one taking place next year.
We're going to be really involved with the U.S. Census taking place. I've already started conversations with the census people, and we're going to try to really work hand in hand with them. The U.S. Census is just so extraordinarily important on every level. Nationally, it's super important. On the state level, it's super important, but it becomes the most important to cities because so much of what they decide and what gets funding for them is to that census. And, all politics are local, and it does not matter. I'm not talking about politics, Democrat, Libertarian, Republican at all, just in the sense that the decisions that we decide, hey, do we want big government? Do we want small government? Any of that, none of that can be decided unless you have the correct data. And so libraries have always have a big part. And so we're going to work really hard to be a place that, the census can do outreach for. We're hoping they can do some recruitment outreach with us. We're hoping they can do some training outreach with us. We're really hoping to work with them because the census being accurate is just so extraordinarily important.
Yeah.
And it's a great temporary employment opportunity because they pay very well. They do all the training. And so we're really hoping that that works out that well for, young people or people in between things in Texas City, Lamarck, and the area, all through the area, because it's a great job for that, because that's one of those kind of entry-level positions you can have, or in-between positions, because you'll find you see this all the time. It's more difficult to find a job if you're not currently employed.
Right.
Which you would think would be the opposite. You would think, people saying, oh, well, you're not employed. That's okay. We're hiring. That works out fine for us. But so many, they have this inherent bias about wanting to interview applicants who don't currently have a job. So having had temporary work, anything like that can get you that foot in the door. So we really hope it's a boon for Texas City, Hitchcock, Lamarck, Santa Fe, all the surrounding areas, that they get a lot of people hired in this area, because that's what they do. They try to hire people local to the area, because they're going to need every single area of the country is going to have to be canvassed. So it's going to be really great.
I was wondering how the census would directly affect the library.
Yeah.
And it seems like it will.
It will directly affect the library. Our population, we expect to grow, which means the state will say, okay, now that your populations grow, you need to do more.
Yeah, and are these people using the library? They can look at the statistics and be like, oh yeah, they use the library. Yeah. So the library needs a remodel. The library needs another remodel next year. Yeah. I don't know.
We would not do a remodel in 1 year. We wouldn't have the correct data. What we do hope is that we see with this remodel greater use of services that didn't exist before, that we'll have data of how often our meeting rooms are used. So if we do need in 3 to 5 to 10 years' time a new library or a larger library, well, then we'll know how many meeting rooms we actually need.
Yeah.
If we just did it in a year and we said, okay, let's double the meeting rooms,
then
it turns out that's not what people actually really wanted us for, then we would have had not enough data. So one of the things we were looking at when we started this renovation project is it's time to expand the footprint of the library. And we looked at it and we talked to the architects, and we were able to find a way to get everything we needed within the same square footage.
That's awesome.
It's not a small square foot library. I mean, it's a good sized library. We just had to change how things were moved. And so we were really happy about that, because of course, your first instinct is to ask, well, we need more space, because we did need more space, but we found a way to get more space by changing how we did things. And we're happy we're doing that, because I'd rather have the use of this new space and the information on that. So if we do decide to do a larger library down the line, we actually know what to do with it. And so we're really excited about it, because we're going to get all these services that we have never had in the library, like group meeting space, sorry about that, group meeting space, and being able to eat in the library, and being able to plug anything you want in almost anywhere. That's going to be hugely transformative, but we didn't have to literally double or triple the budget. Well, no. No, I'm sorry. 6 to 10 times the budget.
Okay,
literally.
okay.
I happen to remember the numbers as I was saying it, because we were looking at the different options.
Yeah.
And that was just as a concept, not once you actually got into, okay, and here's what would be in it. It was at least 6 to 10 times the amount of taxpayer
And that
dollars.
number's always different.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what we're budgeting, and then it's just like you get in there, it's like, well, actually.
Yeah. We're looking at it very well with what we thought our overall budget. It looks like we may come under budget.
That's awesome.
Which we're really hoping that happens. The city works really hard to make that happen every time. I am really proud to work for the city of Texas City, because every single department is always looking at ways, how can we do more with less? I mean, you really see it in every single interaction that they have when it comes to spending dollars, that they know that this is somebody's money.
Yeah.
That it came from someone's home evaluation and they're paying taxes on that. People paid sale tax, and it came from, the amount that was evaluated from the plants that we have. And it's really thought of that this is citizens' money. And if we spend it on one thing, that's another service we're not offering, or that, just in the fact that we asked for that money in the first place, that we didn't ask for less from them, saying we said this is what we need, so we better spend it right. It's the library always spends less than what we budget, because we work very hard on that, but we don't spend way less. We're not, padding it. Don't want to do that. That's how you lose in spades.
Yeah.
But it makes it very easy to ask for taxpayer money when you know you're going to spend it right.
Being responsible with it, it's very important. So I see that Darcy, she was watching a bit ago with the city of Texas City.
Hey, Darcy.
And she had said hi. So hello, Darcy. Back to you. Good morning. But she has come on in the past talking about Touch a Truck.
Oh,
and it used to be with the chamber. What exactly are y'all going to be doing with Touch a Truck? I think I remember what y'all did last year. Is it the same?
This is going to be a little different. With Touch a Truck this year, we're calling it our pop-up library. And we're still testing this, but what we hope to do is be able to sign people up for library cards and check out books. We're going to have a mini curated collection of children's books, teen books, and adult books that we have ready to go that people can actually check out there. Now, and we're also going to have children's story times there. So it's going to have some of what we have for, library services in a tiny little booth. Since people can't use the library right now, we're going to have a little pop-up. So we're really hoping the technology works. We're stress testing that next week, but we think it'll be fine.
Awesome.
It's just basically you have to have a portable Wi-Fi hotspot,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to work. So we're going to test it on different days in different locations so that, we can make sure that the day of it'll actually work the way we want.
Pull through.
And we're going to do at least 2 story times an hour, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, people can just come by the booth with their kids and hear a new story. So yeah, we're really excited about that. Touch Truck's going to be a lot of fun, and we're also going to have some sort of game where they can win book prizes and bookmark prizes and things like that. So there's going to be lots of fun stuff to do at our booth.
Have you seen any of those pop-up libraries? Like you mentioned, there's actually one over here that a Boy Scout, it was for his Eagle Scout project, where they kind of set them up in different places around town, and it's like, hey, a library.
Yeah, little free libraries.
Is that a new concept, or have those been around?
Little free libraries have been around for at least the last 15 years. And they really blew up about 10 years ago. And we're actually going to be putting in a little free library in the Nestler Center.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope to have that ready in October. And so what it is anyone who wants to can bring books to it, and anyone who wants to can take books from it. And the idea is you read the book and you bring it back. But if you just happen to fall in love with it and you want someone else to read it, that's okay. Give it to that person and bring one of your own books. And so that way the collection changes naturally over time, and we'll always keep supplying it. And if it goes well at the Nestler Center, then we'll put some little free libraries other places. Because one of the problems that we have that's a good problem is that people just love the library so much they're always giving us free books. And we can't sell them all, and we don't have space to put them all.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's like the 3rd or 4th copy or 5th copy that we have of a title, and we can only normally keep 1 to 2 copies of any one title, and only 2 if it's incredibly popular because of space reasons, then that means we have to try to sell it. And if it doesn't sell after enough time, then we have to find a home for it. So what we've done is we found lots of different places that take it. We have some senior homes that pick up. We have this woman who has some little free libraries in San Leon that she takes them there. And so we thought, well, this would be a good idea. If this works well at Nestler, then we can put some at Carver. We can put some other places, and that will help with distributing some titles that we get. And also sometimes we'll weed a title because a new edition of it comes out, and so we get the newer edition. But it's still a good book, and so this will be a way to find homes for those books.
Awesome. I will say this, that the one we have over here at Abundant Life Christian School, which is where I went, Crystal went there too as well. So Abundant Life Christian School, our neighbor, right back here, they have one, but it has no books. So if y'all have, and they just built it, it's bookless.
Fantastic.
So if y'all have any extras or anything else, then it'd be cool.
So we'll have to wait till we're back in our library before we can provide more children's materials because we don't have a lot right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of like juvenile fiction and teen fiction, and I'm not sure how up it goes, but yeah, we would definitely be able to keep that full, probably in perpetuity.
That's awesome.
We get a lot of those kind of donations over time.
We'd
love to.
Man, my son, so I have a son, he's 6 years old. He loves to read, which I love. It keeps him, it keeps him active. It gets him away from the electronics and devices. At what age were you whenever you decided, hey, this is my favorite book, or because you said going into college, you knew you wanted to be a librarian.
Yeah.
What is it that kind of sparked that other than, knowing public service, but was it a certain book?
I loved reading my entire life. According to my parents, I was reading fluently before kindergarten. I think they probably in their minds have changed that over time, but my earliest memories are of reading. And, I was one of those kids who was like the, bookworm, big Coke bottle glasses, loved reading. And, it really was such a huge part of my childhood and growing up. And I really felt like for so much of my life, I understood the world through literature. And still do. And it can be such a gateway to a larger world. And so I always knew that when I was going to do something with service, I felt like there was a good chance it would have something to do with literature. And so a lot of librarians get started by, okay, well, I want to help people and I love books. And, for me, what really made it work for me is that I love books, but mostly I really want to help people, because I thought about being a counselor at one time. I thought about being a teacher at one time. I thought about going into social work at one time. I knew it was going to help people. And so I do feel like for being a librarian to be successful, it should be, I want to help people should be first. I love books. You have to have that because, it's always going to be, 90% of what libraries do are, literacy focused. And so you have to have that. But with librarianship, you have to want to help people first, because you'll hear this in library school. If they ask you why you want to work at a library, don't say I love books, because the rejoinder is, okay, why don't you want to go into publishing? And then they get the big eyes and they're like,
be a writer, write a book. Anything.
Yeah, why don't you? Exactly. There's so many things with literacy that you can do, but to be successful, and I found this for people who avoid burnout, it's true, is they just want to help people. And, libraries are a great place for that, because it's a really fun place to help people, because you get to do a lot of fun things and get to do a lot of fun programs, and you get to read a lot of great books, and you get to talk with your colleagues and the patrons about a lot of great books. But you also just day to day find people just incredibly stressed out, and it's like, and I just can't get this to attach, but I really need to do it. My doctor needs this right away. I need this to get this job, and they're just really panicking, and you get to help them out. And for a lot of people, they would say, oh, that's really more IT. Why would you want to do that as a librarian? But it's so much of what we do is, we help with information literacy is a huge part of our jobs as well. And being able to do that and take it from like they're in a really crisis situation, and to be able to walk them through and figure out a solution and do it in a friendly, positive manner. I mean, that's endlessly invigorating, because, I've been in that situation where I'm like freaking out, and, usually it'll be my wife who says, calm down, and she helps me. But to make it through and realize, okay, it's okay. We figured it out. It wasn't actually a crisis. I was just panicking. It's a great feeling, and yeah, if I didn't do it, they would probably figure it out on their own eventually, but it would be a really wretched experience for them. And so having me myself or one of our staff be one of the ones who helps them, I mean, it's just a good feeling.
Yeah. I remember there was a time where I didn't have a computer.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't even have a school project or anything to do. I wasn't at school at the time. I was a musician, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to do something. What do I want to do? I'm going to go to the library.
Yeah.
Just look at books and get on the computer, surf the internet. Those are all services that y'all offer as well.
Yeah, and so we have computers, we have scanners, we have printers, and so we have all that, so it makes it very easy. In our new space, in our private study rooms, in our group study rooms, we're going to have touchscreen TV computers, so which will have, video and speakers, so that you can do screen-to-screen calls, so that'll be really great for people who need to do their interviews, but don't have a place to do it. It'll be a very professional environment, so they can, dress nicely, do an interview, know they won't be interrupted. They can book the room for it, so they'll know that, it's not going to be a problem. So it's really great to have access to technology. And a lot of people just assume, oh, everyone has it now, but it's just not true.
Right.
So many people don't, or they have the technology, but their printer stopped working.
Yeah, and then at school, the projects and the homework, it still will maybe require the internet or require a paper. Maybe you don't have a printer, you have a paper. Maybe you ran out of ink, because ink can get expensive. So
it does.
There's ways that you can access the library and utilize that.
Oh yeah, ink is literally more expensive by weight for printer ink than caviar.
It's just easier to buy a new printer.
It is.
That's what happens. I'm just like, I'm going to buy a new printer.
I can get a printer for $50, and it'll only have one of those small little ink cartridges, but then I can just pay that and print this out. Well, no, go to the library. You can print it out for 10 cents a page.
Yeah.
And yes, we're not open, but there's a lot of libraries who will do this, and they're all pretty much the same price, 10 cents a page for black and white, and you can get it printed out, and you'll have nice people there to help you in case there's a problem. But yeah. So many people just need that printer that one day, and we're happy to be there. And if we do a good job at that, then hopefully they'll remember us the next time they need something else. And that's why we really focus on service, is that, when you're printing something, when you're scanning something, even if that's just a once in a year something you do, if we do a good enough job of it, we hope you'll come back and check out our other services, or don't come back and check out our electronic services.
And then you may see a flyer like, wow, they have a free 3-week ESL training course for free, and then you can either tell a friend and kind of pass that information along, or use it for yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of services that you can take advantage of. I'm going to read this comment. This comes from Cheryl, who is the assistant director at the Memorial Public Library. She said, I too grew up loving to read more than anything. You have no idea how hard it is to be surrounded every day at work by so many amazing books that I don't have time to read.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things. I don't even bother worried about it anymore, but first thing someone says to you when they find out you're a librarian is usually, oh, so you get to read books all day? I love that. And it's like, no, I never have time to read at work. I have far too much to do. All my reading's off hours, and usually by then I'm exhausted, so I never get a chance to read as much as I'd like because Cheryl and I and a lot of our librarians were constantly looking for new books to buy, and so we get really excited about them before most people even know that they're coming. Then they get in, and we get a hold of them and catalog them, but we don't have time to even read a single chapter because we have to be efficient. We have to catalog that book, and then we have to do the one next to it, and we have to do like 30, 40 books in an hour sometimes. It's crazy how efficient you can get.
Yeah.
But you certainly don't have time to read it. It's just like, oh, this book looks so good.
It's like read the front, read the back, synopsis.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Next. That reminded me, whenever you first described that situation, like, oh, I'm surrounded by books, and then, Cheryl as well, I was thinking of Beauty and the Beast, how Belle was like in the library, and that was like her thing, but she always had her head in her book, but she would be a really bad librarian, I think.
Oh, I'm sure she could put her, focus on her professionalism when needed to be. Belle was really focused when she needed to be. I'm sure
that is true.
Yeah.
So right now it is 9:50. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. We have Luke from the Moore Memorial Public Library here in studio. He is the director. He's the man that makes it all happen. He has a great team, and I've had the opportunity to meet multiple people on the team and, and bring them in studio just to learn about all the things you'll have going on. So
yeah, we've had Megan, our teen librarians, come on. Paloma did it for quite a while. So yeah, we're hoping to have some new people step in now that Paloma's not at the library with us anymore, and get some more people a chance to try it out and have their feet in the radio waters.
Yeah. Have you had fun so far? It's pretty good, huh?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I mean, getting to talk about libraries, I could be there all day, 365 days a year. I love talking
just talking about everything.
Yeah, talking about libraries is my favorite thing to do.
That's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share while you're here today?
Well, I'll just throw out some quick dates. These will all be on the city's website. I strongly recommend everyone, whether they're living in City of Texas City or not, to check out City of Texas City's community calendar. Because there's always really great stuff going on, not just events the city does, but events that will happen in the city that other groups are doing. But on October 12th, there is an 1867 settlement celebration, and that's at the Bell House. That starts there, and then it moves to Carver Park, and it's going to, from 12 to 4, they're going to be at tours of the house, and from 1 to 7, they're going to have food, music, prizes at Carver Park. And so it's a celebration of the 1867 settlement, which is the oldest African-American free settlement in the state. It's a beautiful house, and there's just such rich history. And we have a website on the settlement on our library's website if you want to know more about it, but it's a great place. On October 26th, the city does Touch a Truck. That's when we'll be doing our pop-up library. And in October 31st, we're going to be doing Hallapalooza. So that's the Halloween event that they do every year. And this year, we're going to do a book character pumpkin toss and library crafts, and we're going to be doing trunk or treat, so we'll have a lot of fun stuff there at Hallapalooza.
All right. And here's a question. This is from Holly. Oh, yeah. There was already an answer that was given by the official Moore Memorial Public Library Facebook account, but I'm going to make sure it lines up. So the question is, what date can we expect the Moore Memorial Public Library to reopen?
Between early and mid-December is our reopen date. Now, of course...
Okay. It checks out. That's the same answer.
All things being equal, that nothing explodes, but that's our reopen date, and we really hope we can meet that. And of course, if there is any unforeseen consequence that pushes that back, we will communicate that immediately.
Yeah, whenever I first heard about a renovation, in my head, I thought that they were going to demo the building. I don't know why.
Well, it was considered.
It was?
Like I said, when we were considering all the different things to do, if we were going to expand the library, the choice is either expand the existing structure or demo and expand. Because when you expand an existing structure and you have to update that structure completely to, all the different grandfathered clauses that you've had over the last 30 years that you're out of, it can make it just as expensive as just tearing it down and building a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was considered. But, we're really glad that this building that has so much history for people, it's been around since the 1960s and it was expanded in the 80s, gets to exist in this structure. And we hope that it'll always have a place in the city, even if one day in the far future the library moves out of it, that'll have something there that serves the public, because it's a beautiful building.
Yeah, one more thought in question. So we touched on this a little bit with Paloma, and then you referenced how y'all moved into a building that was maybe used to be the police department.
Yep.
But there was people in there.
Yeah, there are people. So it's our building inspections department.
Okay.
City of Texas City's building inspections and community development are housed there. And so, it's a very busy building because, people constantly need inspections.
Yeah.
People constantly need, to talk to community development. So they have a lot of business coming through the door. So they're always very busy. It's just they had a lot of space they didn't need because, as I said, we do a lot with a little. So they have a staff that would probably be half the size for many cities because they're just such excellent professionals and they do so much with so little, and they can get through a great deal because they've all done it for so long. But that meant there was a lot of space open.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have about half the building that was empty is now filled up. And so
was that an easy transition for everybody?
They were so great. They were so welcoming. I mean, I brought donuts and kolaches the first day to help grease the wheels in their bellies, and their hands. But they were great, and we tried as hard as we could to not step on any toes. They were kind of surprised by how loud librarians are, because it was usually very quiet there when someone isn't coming in to get something done. But we have carts filled with books clanking around. But they got used to it, and now it's just background noise for them. And I can't speak highly enough of how every department in the city works really hard to work with each other in the city of Texas City. I mean, and you won't find that in every municipality because sometimes they feel like I'm competing for resources for you.
Right.
There's only so many dollars in the budget, and you're going to take some of mine. No way. But we're working with the Parks and Rec on Hallapalooza, and we're going to be working with them on some summer programs as well. And they've always been extraordinarily generous with their time and resources with us, as has, building inspections for letting us use them. The reason we were able to move in there is the IT department set it up. The reason we were able to move there is that Public Works, hauled a bunch of stuff for us. And there's just a million people who go into making this project successful, and so many of them were City of Texas City employees that it was completely outside their purview. But, it's city business, and so they said, let's help each other out. And it makes it so easy to do your job when, you have a whole city behind you.
Yeah, I've noticed whenever I've talked to people with the City of Texas City, there's a lot of teamwork.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of communication, a lot of people, juggling multiple roles. And, but they're happy about it, and they enjoy it.
You could look at it as like, I always have too much work, or you could look at it as I always get to do something new. Yeah. In the City of Texas City, like our library, they always seem to attract people who that's what they want to do. They want to be challenged. They want to help people. Yeah. And if not, I don't think they last with the city very long because they're surrounded by people like that, and that's just the expectation. And so if that's not something they enjoy, they will just find that they're going to find someplace else that's more suited to them. But we tend to have people who work with us stay for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you're surrounded by people who feel the same way, who want to help people and want to try new things. You never have a boring day.
Yeah. So one last thing, and I feel like I've said it like 3 times.
Like Columbo.
What's the in about 3, 4, 5 sentences, however, what's that goal for the library? What's the vision? If somebody, they just pass by the building and they don't know, like, what are these guys all about? What are y'all all about?
What we're all about is we want to serve the community. And so that doesn't mean just our service area, which is Tech City and nearby. We want to serve the community, so anyone who happens to be passing through. And we want to be a resource for, learning and information and growth in every area. Education, economic, health, community, and just plain fun.
Yeah.
And we want to be a resource for that. And the way we want to do that is to be the library that the community needs. And so that's why we did this renovation, is so that we can give the library what we didn't have, the community what we didn't have before, which is public spaces, places to sit, places to plug in. It's going to change because it always has. But as long as we're focused on serving the public and listening to public about what they need, we feel like we'll be relevant 50 to 100 years from now.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So just making those adjustments.
Oh, yeah.
And the renovation, I feel like that's the sign right there. Obviously, in the 80s, things have changed, quite a bit. So let's
It's
update
been a few
it.
changes since 1983.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for hanging out today.
Thanks so much for having me. Loved it.
I hope you come back soon because this was a lot of
absolutely.
fun.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'd be happy to be back in a month.
I feel like we haven't even tapped the surface.
Oh, there's
always
going. So much more. It's a rich vein, gold all the way down.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Right now it's 9:59. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Hospitality Health ER located in Galveston. They're going to be in studio. They're our family-owned and operated emergency room, which is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out how that works.
I hope they're all doctors and it's not just like the cousin.
This is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM. Coming up next, we got Chris McClarney. The song's called Breakthrough. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're awesome,
So
Luke.
next guest can come in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Facebook.
Yes.
So that was Luke. He is the director at the Moore Memorial Public Library, and that was a lot of fun. I am convinced that Luke has radio experience, that he's secretly been in like a bunch of movies and is a movie star and just hasn't told us. But feel free to share this video if you have any questions. Let me know what they are, what you have going on today. It's Wednesday. We're in the middle of a week, and we want to keep it going strong. I just got a notification from the KHEA radio app. And if you haven't downloaded the KHEA radio app, we don't send out that many notifications, so I know this one's important. It is 10 o'clock, and let me see what this says. So 1 minute ago, this said, hey, don't forget you can listen from the radio app, Positive Music, 99.5 FM, and thank you for downloading. So if you want to do that, you can do that now. It's absolutely for free. I have an iPhone, so you can go to the App Store, search KHEA. It'll pop up. You can go to the Google Play Store, and you can do the exact same thing. Search KHEA. You can even put radio, or you don't have to, and our app will pop up. And once you do that, you'll have access to a ton of different things. First of all, you can listen to KHEA radio from anywhere. You can do that from anywhere in the world, anywhere that you have internet. You'll be able to access what we're playing on our FM. You can also hit this right here, this tab, for member benefits. And what that is going to do is give you access to a bunch of different discounts of places. So we got Burger Nation on here. If you have the KHEA radio app, all you got to do if you're at any of these places is just say, hey, I have the KHEA radio app and it has a discount for you guys. And then just make your order. So I go order a burger from Burger Nation. I'm saving 20%. If I go to Texas Pit Stop, I'm saving 20%. Texas Pit Stop's located in Lamarck. Rockin' Rivers Bounce House and Party Supplies. So if you're planning a party, you need bounce houses. They have like snow cone and popcorn machines. They got everything you need to make it happen. If I'm going to a party and there's not a bounce house, do I really want to be at that party? No, I don't. And I'm going to make sure I have Rockin' Rivers there. So you'll save $20 off of a package that you get. We got Escape Chemo on here, 15%. Cupcake Cachet, buy one, get one. Hippie Fertilizing, and we also have ET Lockouts. So make sure that you go download the KHEA Radio app and stay up to date with everything that we have going on. I'm excited. We got our next guest coming in, and I have a ton of questions on how this works, and we're going to get them situated and learn about everything they have going on right here in Galveston. We broadcast from Lamarck. We do this every weekday, Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock to 11. So we had Luke, the director of the library. Crystal, how's that shot? Do I need to scoot it back? And then I'm going to get introduced and learn y'all's name. So the only thing I am going to ask is, first of all, what's y'all's names?
Caitlin Stanley.
Caitlin. Stanley. My name's Gardy.
Hi, Gardy.
And what's your name?
Jill. Jill.
Jill.
Ship. SHIPP.
Cool. All right, so we got Jill, we got Caitlin, and if y'all could scoot forward just because of the mics, and those things will move forward, so you're going to want to talk like this close, just so that way we can make sure that we hear you guys pretty well.
Does mine need a cover thing?
No, you're good.
Okay.
So Jill, okay, we got Jill Ship. First of all, that's a really cool last name.
Thank you. I've never felt that way, but thank you.
Why?
Just because people don't always misspell it. It's the simplest name on paper, but when I'm saying it, there's lots of interpretations. So.
It could almost be one word, Jill Ship. Like, I don't know, just
I
like
feel like it has become that. No one ever says my first name. Even in school, I was Jill Ship.
Was there other Jills in your class, or it was just Jill Ship?
No, I've always been. Yeah, Jill's not a super popular name these days either. So there was never like a duplicate, everybody. But
Jill A, Jill S,
yes,
anything like that.
And it was always Jill Ship.
I got you.
So thank you.
Caitlin, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
Pretty good. So who are we talking to through text and phone call?
That was me.
Okay, cool. And so can we kind of go through, before we go on the FM, we're just going to get comfortable and then kind of see what everybody's role is. So what's your role?
So I'm the marketing director at Hospitality ER in Galveston.
Okay, and what's your role?
My family and I created Hospitality ER, and so my technical title is Vice President of Business Development. But when you're family owned, you have 5 jobs. So
yes,
we do a little bit of everything.
That's cool.
She wears many hats.
Yes.
Do you wear like a doctor's hat too?
I'm a nurse by
okay,
education.
Cool.
Yes, so I do work a little bit in our facilities. So I will help with marketing. I help with patient care. I help a little bit with our billing side of things. So like I said, we're truly family owned and operated, and all of us in our family our hands are in multiple pots to make sure that we are very aware of everything that's going on.
Who started the medical trend? Was it like a family member? It's like, hey, this is what we do. We go into the medical field.
So my mom was actually a stay-at-home mom until her early 40s. I won't say how old she is now, but and she went to nursing school out of necessity. Really, she needed a career, and as a mom with 4 children, nursing is secure and it allowed a good schedule, and so she did it, and she inadvertently became a really good ER nurse. And the hospital she worked for opened a satellite location, so she went to work for that. And then over time, she went to work for a private emergency room company for many years, and she worked her way up. And when she was working there, she made all of her kids train at the front desk because if she didn't have staff to show up, she made one of us go work. And so that's how we accidentally got started. And we learned more about the business than we expected, and I went to nursing school. And over time, I think our combination of life experience of being a normal family, single mother with children, and then the combination of that with our medical background, we started to realize that we wanted to create a place where the average normal person could go and get quality emergency care at an affordable price. We just kind of wanted to create a place that we wanted to go to.
That's awesome. So I've seen some of the billboards, and it's 24 hours a day. It's like hospitality ER, maybe a 20-minute drive, and there's not going to be a wait.
Correct.
And so I asked my friend as I was driving with him, I was like, I wonder how they know there's not going to be a wait. I was like, what if there's a wait? I said, we need to go right now. But yeah, 20 minutes, it's not that far. Get to Galveston. If you go to some other place, you're probably going to be waiting for, a lot longer than the drive.
Yeah.
For sure.
Most people wait anywhere from 1 to 10 hours in a hospital emergency room.
Yeah.
And so we actually have people come from fairly far directions. They'll drive an hour one way because they know even with the drive back and forth, they're seen so quickly and they feel like their care is thorough and they know that their care is affordable. And so there's less of a hesitation to add that drive time.
Yeah. Jill, where is the family from? Are y'all from this area?
We are from Baytown. So about 30 minutes.
It's not far.
Not far from here, yes.
Yeah.
And we have one in Longview, Texas, Tyler, Texas, and then Galveston. And the reason we chose Galveston is because one of our long time friends, who's also an incredible ER physician, the first ER physician my mother ever worked with out of nursing school, he's our partner. Mm-hmm. And he has lived in Galveston for 30 plus years. And he said, let's do this. This is such a great town and it's needed, and so he kind of led the path that way. So
yeah, that was my next question. Why Galveston? That makes sense. Well, I'm glad I know. Yeah. So he's already here. He's like, look, I'm picturing this in my head.
Yeah,
I already live here. If we could do this, we just open it next door to my house.
Yeah,
that's
much.
What's up. And you know what? I'm gonna be here 24 hours a day. I'm work, home, and I got the beach for vacation. Yeah. Life is good. Let's make it happen.
It's got it
kind
all.
of, yeah. And there wasn't a lot of emergency room options. There's only one option, which is UTMB, which we love. They're an incredible hospital, but they have a lot coming in at them. And so we wanted to add an additional 24-hour option because not only is Galveston, now, yes, we obviously service all the locals in Galveston, but also we pull people from Lamarck and Texas City and things like that. But there are so many people that come to the island for business or for vacation on a weekly basis. And people get, stung by jellyfish and they get, dehydrated and sunburned, or they fall off of a jet ski and need stitches. So there's so many more emergencies than you would think with one option on the island. And so we felt like there was a true need.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we can make that switch to the FM. We'll talk for a bit, get y'all reintroduced. If you're watching on Facebook, If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. If you've been to hospitality ER as well, hey, let me know. We want to know how your experience was and if you enjoyed having that option as well. I love having options when it comes to pretty much everything.
You're right.
And so
They're always better.
Yes.
usually whenever there's a family-owned like restaurant, I'm thinking like that, or a family-owned like supermarket, it's for me like, hey, I like talking to the VP of development operations, like everything. I can actually talk to the person who has some stake in this, because they care differently than others,
I totally agree.
Very different.
It's nice to hear that.
Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Right now it is 10:09 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. We had Luke from the Moore Memorial Public Library in Texas City in studio during that 9 o'clock hour. Right now, we are going to be talking to Hospitality Health ER located in Galveston, Texas. They're about 20 minutes away from here, and guess what? There's no wait. 24 hours a day. There is no wait. So we're going to be learning everything that they have going on and how you can learn more. So we got Caitlin and we got Jill. How are y'all doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Caitlin, so you are over the marketing for Hospitality ER, right?
Yes, I do all of our marketing here in Galveston. It's we try to be very involved with our community between Galveston and Texas City and Lamarck and this whole kind of area. Our goal is to embrace the community and be a resource for them. So I get the joy of doing that.
That's cool. So you get to just meet people pretty much all the time.
Yes.
And spread awareness.
Yes. Let them know about a resource that they probably didn't know was there because we are still fairly new.
Yeah. How new are y'all?
It opened in March
30th of 2018.
Okay, so I mean, y'all just did like a year and almost a half or so. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of the infancy for our style of medical care because it is such a new genre of medical care. A lot of times people still think we're in urgent care.
Yeah.
Or they think we can't really handle emergencies, or there's lots of questions. And so it normally takes the community about 3 to 5 years to really become confident on when to use us and how to use us.
Mm-hmm.
So a year and a half in is we're babies.
Yeah. So Jill Ship, you and your family, y'all actually own this. And can you share what the difference is between you and, let's say, another emergency room that most people have heard of before? What's the main difference? And then also kind of explain the difference, because you mentioned an urgent care and then like an emergency room, what the difference is there as well.
Sure, absolutely. So I feel like there's many differences between us and any other emergency room, whether it's public or privately owned. Number one is we're not corporate. And I really appreciate that factor because there's not a lot of red tape when it comes to making decisions in the patient's best interest, whether it's additional staffing, additional medications. And that immediately affects the patient experience when we can just react on impact. I think the fact that you can speak with the owners, all of our providers are also our partners. So every doctor that's treating you is an owner in that company. And so he has a true stake in making you feel better, getting you the diagnosis you need, and having a great experience. I think also we built our facility to feel more like a home or a hotel than clinical. And because we recognize that it's not just about the medications you get and the diagnosis you get, it's also the way we made you feel. Both comfort level and with respect and courtesy and care. And so we put a huge emphasis on the holistic approach to a patient experience and their family that's there. I think also we do all of our own billing, and so we do not outsource any of that. Mm-hmm. And the whole reason we do it is because we want to completely protect our patients from inappropriate billing, from large bills, from being sent to collections, anything that we feel like is unnecessary. And so my youngest brother runs that billing company, and it's purely meant to support and protect our patients. And billing companies don't typically have a protective
that's awesome because I have a 2-year-old daughter, and whenever we had her, just thinking about like dealing with hospitals and typical experience with billing, like there was things I didn't understand. I'm like, okay, there's this bill, I don't get it. Like you call the hospital and the hospital's like, no, we didn't do that, call them. And then you get another bill and it's like, well, okay, first of all, why am I getting like 5 bills for this? I feel like it's the same thing. And then just having somebody being able to explain that would be a huge a resource. It'd be, that's an advantage in my opinion. Yeah.
I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's insurance and billing and emergency medical care is confusing for everyone, including us. I mean, we're constantly having to learn new ways of doing things, but it's even more confusing when you can't get anyone to give you the right answers and you just keep passing the buck, so to speak. And most people, they want to pay their bills. They want to do the right thing, but they just want to make sure that they were being treated the same way, that they were billed correctly and that their insurance covered what they needed to, all that good stuff.
We're not getting double billed because that's happened to me before. But maybe you'll get refunded and you get a check and it's like, hey, I got a check for this. It's like, I didn't even know that there was double billing there. Thanks, for being honest. How many times did that slip through the cracks? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's nice. So you talk to one billing company. So also, if anyone's ever been to an emergency room, typically you have one billing company for the doctors, another one for the facility. If you had to have a CAT scan or an X-ray, that's a different billing company. If you had to get labs, that's a different billing company. And it's kind of a bit of a circus sometimes, where we do all of it under one roof. And so you talk to one person about your complete experience with us. That person works directly under my brother, who was trained by my brother. My mom and my brother in the building almost every day. And so if for any reason you don't feel like you are getting the answers you need or the care that you expected, even from the billing side, you can simply ask to speak to one of the owners and we'll call you back by the end of the day. And our goal, my mom's the boss, and her only rule is do what's in the best interest of the patient.
That's awesome.
And so it really gives us a lot of autonomy to be able to say, what is the right thing to do? What's not our policy? What's the rule? What do we have on paper? What is best for them?
Okay. So with the name hospitality, and you mentioned how it kind of has a different feel than, clinical has more of a home feel. Like, was that always the first choice of name? I know naming a new business, there was probably like, okay, let's have a list. And it's like, this is good, this stinks. And then people are like, well, pick my name because I thought of this one. How was that process? Especially with family.
Such an interesting question, and it's a very interesting story. So, no, that was not our first name. We actually have a facility under a different name in Baytown called Patient CR, which is also one of our babies. But we're not business people, and we didn't think about it in the beginning that, that's one entity, and each set of doctors is owners at each location. So they're essentially different LLCs.
Yeah.
So we were learning on the fly. So we realized about 8 weeks before we opened our first hospitality.
You needed a new name.
I needed a new name because they're technically different companies, even though, so we were literally, what happened is me and my mom were in her room one night and we got on the phone with my brother and our partner, Jonathan, who's also a nurse. And we just started throwing out names. And I mean, we everything we thought was good, we'd come up with, and it was taken. And so Jonathan actually said, okay, what do? We do customer service, we do hospitality, and it's healthy, and we do hospitality health stuff. And I said, whoa, what did you just say?
Hospital.
And he said, I don't know. And I said, something to do with hospitality. So I said, okay, let's do hospitality health ER. And my brothers were like, that is the worst name in history. They were so mad. They were like, this is the worst name ever. And I said, because they said it had so many letters, no one's going to remember the whole name. I said, but it completely identifies who we are and what our goals are. And so we were like, you know what? We've got 8 weeks. We're rolling with it. You can hate me later. And so, but I think people have now loved it. So it was kind of an accident that was meant to happen because we never planned on having a different name.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have a lot of time to think about it. We just kind of rolled with what felt right. So it's an interesting story because there was a big, almost frustration with, gosh, is this the best name? And now I feel like it was always meant to be
the right choice.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the other suggestions maybe your siblings came up with?
Yes. I mean, crazy stuff like, first care, first good care, great care, best care, patient care. I
got it. Care.
Yeah. City care. I mean, and then we would come up with a good one and we'd be like, that's it. And then it would be taken,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was kind of a freak out moment because 8 weeks before you open, you're looking at signage and marketing materials. So, there were some crazy options on there, but we're not. A lot of times people will get a pool of professionals to come up with a really fancy name and a fancy logo.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have that kind of time or money. I mean, we're family owned. So we kind of throw it together ourselves. I made the logo. We just hope for the best.
All right. In any of the nursing classes that you took, did they have graphic design? How did you make the logo?
I did not. So a long time ago, we are a faith-based company. So we are Christians and my family has a church. And I saw something a long time ago, and I don't even know where, and it was a T, and it looked like an angel. And I just thought, that is something I want in our name, because it almost looks like a person, and I kind of see it as an angel. And I thought, I just feel like that represents so much. And so whenever I wrote the name hospitality, I put the T in there, and it looked like an angel. And then actually, if you look on our logo, the health is really thin and kind of small and in the background. And that's because my brother was like, if we're going to call it this, at least drop the name health and it can just be hospitality ER. And I said, well, I'll make it less noticeable. So if you just look at it for a second, you just see hospitality ER.
And then put health like really small.
Yeah. So that's exactly
Really
what
small and
happened.
great.
Yeah. That he wasn't a fan of it. So it was kind of a compilation of what I wanted and what he wanted. And
Yeah.
and I like clean, simple things. I like it to be basic, because in an emergency, you don't have time for fluff.
Right.
You need to know, where do I go? Is this the right place? Can you see my child? Are you 24 hours? Because truly this is life and death sometimes. We see a lot more than, pneumonia sometimes. And
Yeah.
so I needed people to know when they saw our billboards or whatever, brochure, that they knew immediately we were an ER, we were 24/7, you could come to us.
I think it's important to have a plan. If something happens, I know where I'm going to go. I know, like, hey, in Galveston, I'm in Lamar, Tech City. It's only, however long to get there. And you're comfortable with that, and knowing, even stopping by and meeting y'all beforehand, just being like, hey, I'm going to take a tour of this. Is that a possibility? Just so you know, this is what I'm going to do if there's an incident.
Yeah, I always tell people, we love for you to stop in. We'll make you a coffee, get you a drink. We'll show you the facility, let you meet the medical staff. In those emergency situations, whether it's you or a spouse or one of your kids, you want to feel confident, because those emergencies can be, like she said, life or death.
Right.
Come in, see us, know that you are in the best care, in a place that truly cares about not only our patient, but their whole family. We want to take care of the patient, but the family as well, because they're going through a lot of stress in those times. So it's very different.
Yeah.
So yeah, come in, tell us.
Jill, you
Love to
mentioned
show it to you.
you have a brother, and he runs the billing department, right? And then I think you mentioned something about having brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how many siblings do you have, and
Okay.
what are their roles?
So let's go into the real unique situation that is my family business. It gets crazier. Okay. I'm the oldest of 4 children. I have a sister and 2 smaller brothers, and we are all involved. So my youngest sibling, Jeb, he runs all of our billing aspects, and he also handles anyone that does your insurance and answers the phones at all of our facilities. He handles all of that, because he did that for many, many years.
That's his background,
He's
huh?
26 for many years. But when you start when you're 15 or 16, it's been many years,
Okay.
So he does that aspect. My other brother, Jacob, and my father, and my parents are divorced, so like I said, it gets interesting. My brother, Jacob, and my dad, James, they do all of the construction and the maintenance, and we are expanding in some of our other locations. So they handle that entire aspect, along with my Uncle Michael. And
Everybody has an Uncle Michael, huh?
I know. And and then my sister, she's kind of like my mini-me. She helps me if I have to be in one place and we have a marketing need. Like this week, she's headed up to our East Texas facility to work in the facilities and do a marketing event for me. And then my stepmother, we have ice cream trucks that we take for local nonprofit events, and she runs those and keeps them up to date, and everything they need, and she drives them. And so we were working in a marketing event yesterday. She hands out the ice cream. And then my cousin, Justin, he takes care of the ultrasound part of our company. So
That's awesome.
we're all involved.
Say everyone.
How, is that easy? Is it always easy to work with that much family? It sounds like it's a
We need
a
a
fun
reality
time.
show.
You need a reality show would probably be ideal.
Yeah, so I do love the fact that, it really warms my heart when I can walk in and my dad's changing the air filters, and, my there are times my other brother, Jeb, he runs the front desk sometimes. So, but no, it's not easy, because we are a true family and we love each other, and we're all very, very passionate about this. This not only supports all of our family, but this is our legacy, right? So we have built it from the ground up. And so, and also my mother is a mother before she's anything else. And so there have been times where we've been in meetings with really important people, and I was trying to, really stand on my own and be important, and she'll fix my hair, or she'll
Just walking by like, hey.
yeah, or she'll sit next to me, and she'll, like,
Come
yesterday
on.
we were in a meeting in the morning, and I was having a very serious conversation, and I guess I had something on my ear, and she started to, like, scratch it off while I was talking. And I was like,
Yeah.
Mother.
Oh, Mom.
Or, there's been time, my sister, when she had her 3rd baby, my mom made me cancel all my meetings to go home and live with my sister for a week to help take care of her after her baby. So it's very much an interesting dynamic, but there's nothing more fulfilling than building something that you're proud of with the people you love most. Because we work long hours, but we work long hours with each other. And, you know, we are all parents as well, and so we can bring our kids with us.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Are they already getting trained? Like, okay, this is how you work the front desk, you know, this is, you know,
Yes.
go to medical school.
Yeah, so my nephew, who's the oldest grandchild, he just turned 12, Jordan, and he has a name badge that he wears when he comes in the ER. And a couple years ago, I gave him business cards because he wanted them. He sees us with our business cards. And he was handing them out to all his teachers at school and his friends, telling
awesome.
them, when you get sick, you need to go here. But I think more than anything is they see our work ethic. So I have an 8-month-old, and she travels with me everywhere I go. And sometimes I'm doing, you know, meetings with her in the high chair or a marketing event with her on my hip. And I just want her to see that, you know, with hard work, there's a lot that pays off. But I also, it's nice to know if you're going to work long hours, you can take your babies with you. But yeah, I don't care what they do. There's so much to do in our company that as long as they work hard, that's all I care about.
Yeah. Caitlin, how long have you been involved with Hospitality Health ER?
So I have been involved with hospitality right at about a year. I started last fall, a couple months after Galveston opened, just kind of hit the ground running of learning about the company and learning, you know, from the inside out. I would spend days in the facility in East Texas learning how it works, so how their patients are treated. That way, when I was in the community, I could answer people's questions and really speak for it. So it's been a whirlwind of a year, but it's been good.
Yeah. Whenever you go out to an event, whether that's, you know, a nonprofit event or just like a networking event, what is the main message that you tell people about Hospitality Health ER?
Oh, gosh, there's so much. Hospitality does so much. It's hard. I think the main thing I want people to know is that it's very different. It's hard to explain it quickly, but at the end of the day, it's very different being family owned. We want to do what's, like she said, we want to do what's best by you. We're going to work with your insurance. We're going to make sure your insurance is actually working for you. A lot of places don't do that, so we make sure your insurance is working for you. And so that's my big deal, is I want them to know about this resource that they have as far as getting medical care, but I also want to be a resource for the community. We love doing community events. We love being out there. So I'm always wanting to spread that word, too, of how can we partner with you and how can we help you and what are ways we can give back.
Okay, cool. So, Jill, earlier you said something about people maybe getting confused, like, oh, are they in urgent care? What's the main difference between an emergency room, a full-blown emergency room, and an urgent care?
Okay, so we, first of all, it's our licensing at the basic foundation. We are licensed as an emergency room, just like you would go to at a hospital. But it starts even with our hours of operation. Urgent cares closed, emergency rooms do not. Urgent cares are phenomenal, and they are meant to help you if you have a minor illness or injury. And so we are a true emergency, meaning there are things, once you have a set of symptoms, it crosses the line from minor to emergent. And we have the staffing. All of our doctors are ER physicians. We have everything from crash carts. If you're having a heart attack, we can intubate you if you don't have an airway. We can deliver your baby if we have to. We have CAT scan. So we are a higher level of care, and not just with our staffing, but also our medications and our imaging and our labs. So, we can see things like strep throat, and we can see things like, back pain and, a broken foot, because they can be considered emergent. But we can also handle things like if you think you're having a stroke, or you think you have appendicitis, or you think you're having a heart attack. And on the island, if you've had a severe injury on the beach, if you think you're losing consciousness, we can handle any of that. So many of our doctors actually work in other hospital-owned ERs. So they see things, in our ER that they do at the hospital. So it's everything from the ground up.
Is there anybody in the family who's kind of accident prone, who's had to use the services a little more than the other?
So my sister, not her so much, but her 3 children, they have the craziest things happen to them. So my nephew, Jordan, bless his heart, he got hair gel in his eye because,
oh my goodness,
he's very concerned about his cough. He's 12.
Of course. Yeah.
But he also plays football, and you gotta push hard. So the sweat and the hair gel got in
From
his
the
eye
I've
and
been
got
there.
him an eye burn. And it was so horrible. It was like he was in our ER for hours and hours and hours. And she has a 3-year-old, Garland, who we call him Mowgli from the Jungle Book because he's like a little animal. And he's always like falling downstairs. Last time I saw him, he had a huge gash on his nose. He broken his arm when he was 20 months old. And so not only her, but all of her wild children that we love so much.
Yeah. How do you treat eye burn? Like, what's the protocol for that?
So initially the physician looks at it to see if there's scratch or anything like that. But really what we had to do is he was in so much pain we couldn't even assess his eye completely because he couldn't open it. So we had to get him relaxed enough with pain medications to where he almost kind of went into a light sleep. And we put some drops in his eyes to help with inflammation and stinging and burning. And then we were able to let him close his eyes and rest long enough for the body to start healing, and then we could assess it and realized that he needed to see a specialist. But so we got the swelling down, we got the redness and the burning down. If there's any kind of infection that could set in related to a laceration, we can do antibiotic drops. And then, so that's what emergencies are meant to do. We're meant to handle your acute injury or illness, get you stable, get you comfortable. We're your first line of care. And then whether you need to go to surgery or you need to go see a specialist, we help get you to that next level of care if you need it. And many times, because we are very thorough, we're able to treat you we're able to treat you thoroughly enough with us that we can discharge you, and then the medications we give you will help you on your way.
Yeah. And my son, so right now he's 6. I think I mentioned that earlier, but maybe 3 years ago, he had an experience at an urgent care that has affected him in a way anytime we go anywhere, to the dentist, if we go to the doctor's appointment, like normal, hey, you need to go to the doctor. They're not even going to do anything, they just need to check you. It was it was a traumatic experience for him. So I know how that can affect having the proper stuff. So what he did is he was actually here at church during church service, and he was playing, normal freak accident. He busted his chin open, and they had to give him stitches on it. And so the way they did that at the urgent care was, okay, just put him in pretty much a straitjacket. Put him in a straitjacket, and we'll just hold him down, and we're going to stitch his chin up. So meanwhile, me and my wife are standing over there watching him go through probably the most traumatic thing that he's ever gone through in his life. They didn't give him any kind of medication, and as far as I know, any kind of numbing, anything. They just kind of did that. And by the end of it, I almost, and I don't know if I should admit this, but the doctor, the way he was communicating to my son, it didn't go over well with me. And so as a dad, I was just like, okay, like, hey, dude, like, chill out. First of all, you need to watch the way you're talking to my son, or, I appreciate what you're doing, but still. Yeah.
So I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really glad you brought that up. So that is not abnormal. That is kind of the status quo in care is we've got a child, they need a few stitches. It's just going to be difficult. Everybody's going to cry and scream, including the parents, and we're just going to make it fast and get it over with. But that is not holistic care. That's not thinking about how this child is perceiving this. That is not thinking about how the parents are handling this. It may be the first injury with their child. And we just see it as unnecessary.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that sets us apart. So, and I'll tell you, a lot of things that we do in our facility are controversial in the traditional aspect of emergency care because it is not a warm and fluffy place most of the times. ERs are not.
Yeah.
Ours is full of warm and fluff, and we are looked at as kind of being over the top and unnecessary, but patients see it as absolutely necessary. So in that situation, if you would have brought your son in and he needed stitches, we have nitrous gas, which is laughing gas, and we would have been very calm. He can choose his scent or his flavor, and we would have put a mask up to his face, and he would breathe very like he would in room air, and it relaxes him, and it does a very, very light sedation, and you would be in there with him, and he would be stitched up and never know the difference. So,
and then I'd be sedated next. So it was like him, and then with me, and so then we're both relaxed, and I'm like, okay.
We had a 2-year-old about 3 weeks ago at one of our facilities that had to get stitches above her eyebrow. She's 2, and she sat there and giggled and talked to her mom the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Because she had nitrous gas. And does it take an extra 30 to 45 minutes to do this with everything included? Sure. But no one cried, no one screamed, no one was traumatized. She left with a little goodie bag with some toys and stuffed animals and snacks, and she didn't even remember it being done. And so those little bitty extra things we do
makes a difference.
It makes it, like you said, now he's traumatized.
Yeah, we went back and he had to get the stitches removed, and then it was another experience, and it ripped the entire thing wide open. So what they did is like, oh, well, I guess we can just glue it. And so then they glued it and put it back on there, and it was just a whole thing, and I was so mad. I was upset.
I know. I'm getting like anxiety for you because I've seen it happen, and it is actually when we first opened, again, as we're doing this, we are not entrepreneurs. We are nurses and doctors. We're just learning what's best. And when we first opened, something like that happened, and our doctor, and I give him full credit, he said, I am never putting myself or that child or those parents through this again. There's got to be a better way. And so he's the one that said, let's bring in nitrous gas and let's see how it works. And it has been, whether there's people with phobia of needles, or we have a lot of people that just get anxiety because they're in an ER, and then they won't even let us touch them because they're just so anxious. If we can bring that anxiety and that trauma level down, then we're actually able to give you better care. So do you have our phone number in case you know?
I do, yeah, I do now. And just because something's been done for so long a certain way, that doesn't mean there's not a better way. Why not try something else that may work better, in every situation?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I feel like you're speaking to our emergency room soul saying those things because we do get a lot of flack from kind of the traditional community of emergency medicine because we do things that have never been done this way before. But exactly, it's just because it's the way we've always done it. Is this truly the best way to do it? Is this in the best interest of the patient? And I think part of the reason why we're different is because, like I said, my mom was a mom first. She's been through all of those things. My brother with the billing company, he had a rock dropped on his head my homecoming night. So I ended up in the ER in my homecoming dress with my brother getting stitches on his head. And, we've been through all those things, and she felt the way you did. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
So we're just able to have resources to figure out what that better way is.
Right now it's 10:35. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. We are talking to Hospitality Health ER. They're located in Galveston, but not only do they have a location in Galveston, apparently they have locations, I think, all over the state. Can we kind of talk about that? Like, how many different spots are there, and what are the different names? And is Hospitality Health ER the best name out of all of them? Because you came up with it, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's technically 4 that my family and I are involved with. Our first one was in Baytown. It's called Patients ER. And then we have Longview, Texas, which was our second one, and that's where we started the Hospitality ER name. And all of our facilities going forward will be named that. And then we have one in Tyler, Texas, and Galveston is our newest baby. And that's all we have right now.
That's awesome.
I think those are all the babies we can handle.
So the one in Baytown, it's called like Patients
ER.
Like having, if my son is getting stitches, I'm trying to have patience. Like
no, it's being a patient.
Oh, being a patient.
Yes.
I was like, is there another play on words here? I was like, it's a little bit of a pun. I was like, oh, okay.
It was basically saying our entire focus is on you, because when we look at it, we wanted to build a facility that was for the patients, was for them. Everything we did was for and because of them, and so that's where we came up with the name Patients ER.
Okay, awesome. And then hospitality, you kind of got that victory, and now it's like, hey, now y'all get hospitalities.
Yeah, so hospitality. So really, the way we kind of come up with our facility was. My sister and I worked as waitresses all through college, and we worked at, for the majority of my time as a waitress, I worked at a restaurant called the Capitol Grill. Shout out to Capitol Grill. And I always say it's the Harvard of customer service. I waited on, dignitaries and rappers and, all kinds of stuff where no isn't an option.
Yeah.
And so you were taught very quickly, you better figure it out, and you better figure it out before they ask for it. And so I did that for 9 years. And so then when I became a nurse and I started treating my patients, I realized that me being able to dote on my patients and care for them and give that customer service aspect, it was very difficult to do that with the limitations that I was offered. And so when we decided to open our own, we sat in my mom's living room, and with my college notebook, we made a list of all the things. And a lot of what I took from my experience at Capitol Grill, down to the way we react within our community. And they just taught us that you do the best by your customer, and if you don't do the right thing first, you better fix it fast, and you better do everything it takes to fix it. And that they used to say, people don't come to us for a steak. People come to us for an experience. And it's everything from opening the door for them to the way you greet them to all the little extras. So when I became a nurse, I took that same methodology but implemented it with a medical approach. And so when we were talking about what we wanted to do, everything we do has a undercurrent of a hospitality factor.
That's awesome. Do you mainly spend your time down here at Galveston, or do you have to hop around?
I hop around like a gypsy.
Jill is everywhere.
I live in different. Yeah, we're like a traveling caravan.
This is where I live when I'm here.
Yeah. So
I
came in about 1:00 this morning. I've been in East Texas for a week in the Longview, Tyler area. I'll be here half the week. I'll be back up in East Texas for Friday, Saturday, and then I will be back here Sunday to work in Galveston.
Awesome.
So my family and my mother just went to East Texas yesterday. My dad and my other brother spend a decent amount of time up there. My sister's going up there next week, I think. So we kind of all do this shuffle. But that's because if you want to run a family-owned facility, then people need to see your face.
So if you have someone from the family here, and that probably makes it easier to work with family if you don't have to physically, see them all the time. I've talked to ministers and pastors, they've been married. Oh, I've been married for 45 years. And it's like, oh, cool. But they're never home. If they're traveling and it's like, oh, that's how you've been happily married, for so long. It's kind of a little joke. But, working with family can be hard. I've talked to people who run food trucks, and it's a husband-wife combo. And I'm like, how do you stay married in that close quarter, like every day, every weekend? This is what you're doing, if you're busy with the line. And I was like, there needs to be a book. And I'm just going to go to like different people, family businesses and get, a paragraph. What is some advice? How do you do that?
It takes a special heart. And also my mother lives to my left and my brother Jeb lives to my right. We live within 4 houses of each other.
Really?
And so not only do we work together, but we live next door to each other. I really think that we are a product of our parents, and our parents have always taught us. I mean, the fact that my parents are divorced and they both work for the company and we all have Christmases together, I think it speaks volume about how they created our family, and family is always first. And, you're going to fight, you're going to disagree. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you are family and you love each other, you protect each other. And I think we all have our own specialty. And so even though, my mom's the boss and she has the most experience, she respects all of our voice and all of our capabilities and really lets us run with that. So I think it's a testament to her, honestly. She's not a micromanager and she's not dramatic. So sometimes when my brother and I disagree or we argue or whatever, she's like, oh, whatever, and then we all go to dinner.
Yeah.
And she just reminds us that we're a family above and beyond anything. And she's always been of a mind of where there's a will, there's a way. And so she's just ingrained us with that mentality since birth. So, look, we are not perfect. Caitlin can attest to that.
We're wonderful.
She has seen the family dynamic, but I think no one can disagree with us that we're a family first and we love each other and we're as tight as they come.
All right. It's 10:41. We're going to take a quick break on the FM, play a couple songs. When we come back, we're going to remind everybody how you can get a hold of Hospitality ER, learn more information, maybe even schedule a tour. Just show up. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Cruise. All right. Y'all doing good? Well, we're on Facebook.
Okay, I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, we're on Facebook. So on the FM and on our app, it'll play a couple of tracks.
Songs.
And then after that, we'll go back on and remind everybody.
You have such great questions.
Thanks.
I have to say that, we get asked questions, with different media outlets, but I really am enjoying your questions. I think they're
Thank
super. They're appropriate and they're so spot on, but they're also unique. A lot of these questions I don't get asked. So.
Okay. What questions do you get asked? Because maybe I should be asking those instead.
No,
I've been doing this wrong
you're
instead.
good.
You're good.
No, I think your questions are great.
Okay, thank you.
I think anything that I think insurance coverage is also always a sensitive topic of billing, big bills, finances. I mean, we actually like talking about that stuff because we're an open book.
Yeah.
We try to be very transparent about all of that because people they get worried about their money.
Of course,
I mean,
yeah.
I would too. When I started with hospitality, I had a list of questions because I had gone to a freestanding in another state and had not the best experience. So I had my questions of how do y'all do this? How do you handle this? Because if I'm going to be, living in this community and really, telling everyone about it, I want to make sure that I'm representing something that I believe in too. And so when I got to sit with Jill and she answered all of my questions of this is how we do this, I was amazed because it was like, this is exactly how I want to be treated. And this is how I want people to treat my family. And I always think it's really important for people to understand.
And I think because of the way I don't know if you've ever seen our facility, but we have a fireplace in the lobby and snacks everywhere. And it's a pretty facility. And so people are like, oh, those are going to be expensive,
Yeah.
And so they equate quality with dollar. And what they don't understand is we're cheaper, than we really try to seek out what our competitors charge and try to do less than that. But the reason we're able to do all that is because we're not corporate. We don't have that we don't have all this levels of management and stuff like that. So people automatically assume we're going to be expensive. And in fact, we feel like we're the cheapest emergency room option there.
Yeah, because there's less like overhead, I guess.
I drive a used Suburban, and my mom's lived in the same house since she became a single mom when I was 13. So we don't live a fancy life, and we are the management, and we wear a lot of hats, so I don't have to pay 5 people to do what I do. And so that immediately rolls down to the patient.
Yeah.
And so people are always like, you aren't doing this for free. And we're like, no, we're not doing it for free. We have to make a profit, but we're normal people, and, we understand that if we need less, then we can charge you less. And you know what I mean? It's kind of all a domino effect.
Yeah. For, one thing that you just mentioned that stuck out to me, whenever I go somewhere, I kind of look around at the amenities. Like if I'm going to a car dealership, do you got popcorn? Is there popcorn there while I wait? Are the chairs comfortable? Is there a fireplace? These are the kind of things that I need to know, and why I like to go look at places. Like if I'm going to a bank, is there candy? And what kind is it? Is it good candy, or is it kind of like, okay, you can have this candy. So knowing that y'all have snacks, 1, a fireplace, 2.
Free snacks. Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix, see?
Netflix. Our pediatric room is actually completely an underwater mural. Gabriel Prusmack, who's been doing a lot. So he did our pediatric room. So when they do come in and they're scared, even before they get the nitrous, there's toys in there for them to play with. There's a beautiful, colorful wall for them to look at and see the underwater, whether it's the ocean or the scuba diver. It's very different.
Man, Gabriel's been doing, he's doing the causeway.
He's killing it.
He is killing it.
He's very talented.
He is so talented and so creative and honestly really enjoyable to work with. And I think that in small communities like this, reputation is everything. And when you're not only extremely talented, but it's fun to work with you.
Yeah.
He's got a great future for himself.
He does.
His dad's an ER doc.
Really? See, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either until I hired him. And he's like, hey, my dad does something like this. Yeah, really. Super, super cool guy.
Yeah, but
that's cool.
It's fun, though, the first time, I'm not in the facility very often, but when I am and someone walks through the door and they've never been there before, there's normally a stop. And
am I in the right place? Like looking at the address?
Yeah, they kind of stop, and then we'll greet them of like, hi, do you need to see the doctor? But there's a little bit of a pause because you do walk in, and there is a chandelier, and there's the fireplace, and a very long snack bar, and they just kind of do a pause.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and then once people get used to it, they come in, and immediately they're just relaxed before they've even seen the doctor.
What happens at our other locations that, at Longview, we've been open since 2015, and now we've spoiled them a little bit because each facility, as it grows more and more, we add things to it. So we actually have several other departments in our other locations. We have complimentary massage therapy, and we have ballet, and we have
that's cool.
We have an entire customer service department in the building, and their whole job is to make patients happy, and to do everything that the patient and their family members need.
Yeah.
And so we had a patient last week that got very upset because she did not get her massage while she was in the building. And she's like, look.
It's like, repeat what you just said and listen back to it.
But, I couldn't get mad at her because I thought that is the expectation I have set. That people equate, they like when they are having the flu and they have body aches, they're going to come in and get a massage while they wait for their medications to infuse or whatever.
Yeah.
And she didn't get that. And she felt like it didn't add to her overall experience. And so, we're going to make sure she's taken care of.
Yeah,
but it was funny when I thought, gosh, what have we done? What kind of animals have we done?
Man, that's awesome. That is cool though. Creating that. This is what you get. That level that's above and beyond. Yeah. What else is offered out there?
I will never complain about a patient complaining about what they didn't get because it is our privilege to be able to do this. It is not lost on us that we get to create something that most people can't. And so I like when they call me out on our mistakes because it's like, you're right. You deserved that massage, and we messed up, and I will never do that again. Yeah. It reminds us of who we are and the brand we've created, and you better not fall from it.
So with the location in Galveston has a really cool vibe. There's the people that live there, they're proud to be there, and people move there because they like it, and there's a lot of cool stuff offered as well. how is that, you know, opening a new business that is an emergency room? Did y'all take on any of that vibe as well? Or do you understand what I'm saying? It's a weird question, but
no, I like the question. So we were actually embraced with open arms from this community. I have to tell you, it has been so fun. First of all, the chamber, we joined very early on, and they have been nothing but supportive and welcoming and guiding us a lot, because it is a unique area to work in, to live in. It's not the same feel as a normal city. I mean,
right.
you know, you're a little bit on island time, you know. And
yeah, I think of like, I'm sorry to interrupt,
No.
but Galvestonian, I think of Gabriel Prismack.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the first person who comes to mind. The typical Galvestonian.
Okay,
That's him.
I'll give
He
you an
fits it.
example. I hope I'm okay to say this on the radio. Whatever. So last night, our director of nursing who runs the facility called me a mom, and she's like, look, you know, there was this lady, and she wasn't feeling well, and she has fur babies, and they're her children, and she did not want to leave them at home. So they're just going to hang out with her in the room. We've got the dogs some snacks and some drinks, and they're potty trained, and, you know, and I was like, do we allow dogs in the ER? And Mom's like, I mean, they're for her fur babies. And I said, okay, well, whatever, as long as that no other patients are upset by that or whatever. And that's just kind of how Galveston is. You know, you can have the most affluent person in the community walk in flip-flops with a Hawaiian shirt on, and, you know, it's just kind of like, yeah, I feel like I have a little chest pain. You know, everyone's just on a different mellow level. But I also think that forces us to kind of bring our environment to that same kind of feel where, yes, we're an emergency room. Yes, we're very concerned about your care. But everyone's very relaxed and chill. And we've learned, like last year, during the summertime, we realized that all of our furniture gets wet every day because people come in their bathing suits. You know, they weren't expecting to get stung, you know, so they ran across the street. So it's kind of everything from the furniture we're choosing to the snacks we have. You know, it's like, we better make sure we have a ton of aloe vera. You know, it's really forced us to reignite that passion for making sure that we are doing the right thing by the patient and the community. And they're kind of teaching us a new vibe, so to speak, of how we cater to them. So
that's cool.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and Galveston has a lot of big events, and like you mentioned, tourism, but like I think of like Mardi Gras and some of the, even like the Jeep, I don't know, the Jeep weekend that they have as well. You know, what do you all see as a facility during those? I'm guessing more people, more issues potentially.
I think it depends. So for Mardi Gras, we're on the seawall, and so you actually block our facility when they cut down the street for the parades. So we're dead during Mardi Gras because you can't get to us. I mean, you can, but it's a back road. I feel like that's
the one place you need to get to.
I know.
I'll tag the city of Galveston right now.
Yeah, right.
I'll make a phone call later. Got this, guys.
You can go a back road, but our main entrance is closed off for the parade. But, I mean, you tell me, what was it like during this past weekend?
It kind of varies. You know, there's different events that have different, like, intensity of the activities as well. So it depends. You know, at Mardi Gras, there are sometimes people who, I think we had a lady who had, like, accidentally fallen off the seawall because they were it was crowded and watching the parade. And so they were able to, you know, bring her in right there. So that was really great that it was, you know, really close. But there are those weekends where there is just an influx of 100,000 people, and being a resource for them is really great. And we've really found that that helps out. It helps out with the hospital, who has, you know, some really traumatic things that are being, you know, brought in by ambulance and everything else. We can kind of take that load off of them and really, you know, make sure people are feeling better and get them put back together. Because if you go on vacation and you have to go to the emergency room, that's not fun.
It's the worst vacation.
That wasn't the plan.
And we want people to love Galveston. We want them to come back.
Right.
So if they come in, they have amazing treatment, and we get them right back to vacation, where it's just like, hey, you know, this happened and I feel great now.
Yeah.
Then they come back. And that's
Great
important
point.
for us.
That's a great point. I think, you know, Caitlin hit that also nail on the head, is that we know that you don't plan to spend your day with us, and we understand that you have a life to get back to, whether it's your work or your vacation or whatever. So not only do we try to make you feel better when you leave. I mean, there's no point in going into an ER if you leave feeling as bad as you did when you got there. You just get a prescription and hopefully feel better in 3 days.
Yeah.
We want to make you feel better when you leave. And then time is of the essence. That's why we say no wait, and we mean it. We want to get you in and out with very thorough treatment because, you know, maybe you have dinner plans. Maybe you've got a beach house for a weekend. You know, you don't want to spend half your day with us. So we try to cater to that as much as possible. But, yeah, there's the large events. It's either like crazy or it's dead during, and then as soon as it's over, it's like everyone, even if they're sick or hurting, they're still going to have fun.
Yeah,
and then,
powering
and
through.
then Sunday comes, and
Now
we are
I'll go to
just
the doctor.
slammed.
Is this infected?
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
I got a cut, and I was
Yeah.
jellyfish. I don't know. Something happened. What do I? Yeah, save my arm.
Yes.
They'll come in with, we think it's broken. Well, when was it? Like 48 hours ago.
Yeah. So it is sometimes they choose their fun over their health.
That's wrong, though. You should definitely choose your health. Get it checked out, maybe. I guess it depends on your own.
It's the
how you
stigma,
feel.
though. I mean, think about it. If you aren't familiar with us, and we are very new there, you're thinking, "Are you kidding me? Going to the ER? I'm going to be there till tomorrow."
Yeah.
And it's going to cost me a ridiculous amount.
So people have that stigma of it's going to be a horrible experience. I'm going to wait forever, and it's going to be expensive, and I'm not going to spend all my vacation money, on my ER visit. So we have to really reassure them a lot of times when they call on the phone. So I think 3-4 years from now, Jeep Weekend will probably be packed because they know they can get in and out. So.
Okay. So let's go back on the FM. We'll remind everybody how they can find you guys on social media and maybe even go tour the facility. There we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Right now it is 10:55. It is Wednesday morning. We're talking to Hospitality Health Emergency Room located in Galveston, Texas. What is the actual location? Because y'all are right on the seawall, right?
It's 4222 Seawall Boulevard. So it's kind of between like 45th and 39th Street right there.
What are y'all next to? Like what's...
Ben and Jerry's and Papa's Pizza.
Hey, that sounds like a good day.
Yes, it's perfect. Everyone knows where Papa's and Ben and Jerry's are.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. Being in Galveston, whenever you come down, Jill, where do you stop and eat? Because there's a lot of awesome places on the seawall.
Oh, we got to get me in trouble. I better name all the right names. Okay. Gypsy Joint is one of my go-to faves.
Yeah.
They're also family owned, and with all their kids, they're just like us, and I love they're crazy, just like us. Last time I ate at Taquitos in more like the downtown area, they have the best food. Of course, we eat at Papa's Pizza a lot. You can't. I mean, the Spot. Who doesn't go to the Spot?
Yeah.
They've got. I love their fish tacos. What is the burrito place?
Bronco Burrito.
Bronco
Bronco.
Burrito. They have killer breakfast burritos, and the owner of that place has opened up for me ridiculously early before and does so many favors.
Yeah.
That's another great thing about working here is even the restaurants, they're just excited to have more businesses there. So, and the snow cone place. I'm so bad with names. Down the...
Where are they at? Are they on seawall?
They're on Seawall, but it's further down.
It's the actual snow cone stand?
No, it's the
Okay.
it's like it's indoors, but you can get Bahama Bucks.
Ah, yeah. I love
Bahama
Bucks.
Bucks. And then if you go really, really far down into the little, it's kind of like a city of the beach houses way on the west
in
end.
Beachtown.
Beachtown.
Oh,
Is it
West End.
The West End?
Is it the west end where Beachtown is?
Well, Beachtown is on
Like Pirates Beach?
the east.
Oh, is it east? Sorry, I'm directionally.
Like
challenged.
Pirates Beach is towards the West End.
Okay, so I'm very, very east end of Beachtown. There's a restaurant there, and they've been there since, even before we opened. And it's a tiny little place, but, I mean, their food is incredible. Really, it is. They have really unique ideas with lots of flavors. What is the name of that?
Front Porch Cafe.
Front Porch Cafe.
Nice. I haven't heard of that one. I need to go there.
My food.
So,
Oh, my gosh.
so you mentioned Gypsy Joint, like close to Gypsy Joint, which they're awesome, and a great family as well.
Yeah.
They've been on air here. There is Soul to Soul Cafe, which is soul food, and then there is Maceo Spice.
Yeah.
They're like right within the little strip. What you need to do one day, and I've done this, is like eat at every place. I don't recommend it actually. Now that it came out of my mouth, don't eat all at the same place. One day, space it out.
Soul to Soul is so good. They've done
I've
it.
never been
They've
there.
had
Miss Cook.
They've been at a lot of chamber events. They actually
Yeah.
just did a ribbon cutting with the Galveston Chamber
They did.
yesterday.
Mhm.
But she's been at a couple different events with her catering, and it's so good.
Well, we need to make a
It's
lunch
really
meeting
good.
there.
Make a plan.
Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, that'll be our next place.
Is there anything else I'd like to share?
I think, it's just important that people know. I think there's a lot of stigma, again, with emergency rooms and ER coverage. You're like, yeah, you're pretty and you're nice, but you're going to be super expensive, or you're not going to take my insurance, or you're going to say that you work with my insurance, and then the doctor's going to be out of network or whatever it is. And so we really pride ourselves on working with every commercial insurance plan in existence, both domestic, whether you're from Nebraska or Galveston. We will work with your insurance to make sure it processes through your in-network benefits. But we have people from Canada and Mexico and France, and we work with that insurance as well. And we understand that it's an emergency and you weren't financially prepared for that always. And so we want to make sure that we do the right thing by you financially. So I just encourage people, if you do have questions about our billing, our insurance coverage, our medical care, we are an open book. And I just want you to call and ask. My cell phone number is at the business cards at the front desk. You can call me directly if you want to, because I want people to have that confidence. So we are so different than most other ERs, and I would just like people to give us the chance to make sure that they understand everything that we can offer.
All right. So if you search Hospitality Health ER on Facebook, and I believe we have tagged them as well in the comments, and we'll make sure that that is there.
Hospitality Health ER Galveston. So make sure that Galveston's on the end, because we do have
the other locations.
Locations. But if you make sure it says Galveston, you'll find us, like us. We're actually doing a giveaway right now. It's still live. So I always tell people, follow along on our Facebook. You'll know about what we're doing, what we've got going on. It's a great way to get in touch with us. People are more than welcome to call me or email me. But if it's easier for them to go on Facebook and send us a message, We'll answer any questions you have, or if you've got upcoming events and stuff. We want to be there for y'all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thanks for having us.
It's nice to meet you guys.
Likewise.
Yes.
Right now, it's 11 o'clock. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. Be blessed today. Coming up next is 10th Avenue North. The song is called Secrets. You can stream us from anywhere in the world at KHEARadio.com. All right. Bye, guys. Bye, Facebook.